Hello, well this is Tara Jensen and I'm so glad you're here with me on this third video to talk about release techniques. Now I'm going to talk about three specific release techniques. The first one will be write and burn, the second one will be called finishing the conversation, and the third one is known as tapping, or another name is EFT tapping. It's called emotional release or emotional freedom technique. So I'll talk about those three for you on this video. Now when I'm talking about releasing, what I'm talking about is releasing subconscious beliefs that keep us stuck in the past or keep us stuck in a place where we don't want to be. When we suppress emotions, that's usually when we find some kind of health problem, a mental problem, a physical or an emotional health type of problem, when we're suppressing emotion. So science has proved this, that suppressing emotion can actually cause ill health. And of course the Chinese have had this figured out for thousands of years. If you look at new authors like Louise Hay or Wayne Dyer, they teach a lot about this. One of my absolute favorite books is by Carol Trueman, this book here. It's called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about this book as we go along. So the first one that I was talking about is a write and burn technique. This is an amazing release technique because you are again helping to pull up this suppressed emotion that's keeping you stuck wherever you are. So an example of this would be just to grab out a piece of paper and write down any negative emotion that you're dealing with at the time, and just let it flow. Whatever you're upset about, whatever you're feeling stuck in the past about, wherever it might be that you're feeling stuck, and just journal whatever you can about that, getting all the emotion out of it, the anger, the resentment, anything, and writing it all down. So that's the right part of write and burn. And then when you're finished, getting a pot or something and going out on your porch and ripping that to shreds, which is just another amazing release technique. But getting a match and just lighting that up on fire and watching that emotion and all those things that felt so heavy to you burn and just release and go up to heaven. So that's the write and burn release technique. That's absolutely amazing. Okay, the second one I wanted to talk to you about is called finishing the conversation. Now this, for some people, is a little hard to digest, I guess is the word. But finishing the conversation is basically kind of like a spirit-to-spirit communication with someone. So the first thing you want to do is just get out a piece of paper and write down anyone that you would want to finish a conversation with. So this can be from childhood up to where you are now in your life. So people that may have hurt your feelings, people that have done things to wrong you, people that you need to forgive, people that you would like to forgive you, any of these people that you may want to finish a conversation with that you weren't able to. And then once you get that list of people, and don't be surprised if the list gets pretty long. I know when I first did it, I had probably 30-40 people on my list. But I go in order of the way I wrote them down. So let's say I get to that first one on the list, and you just go out into nature or some place where you can have privacy, and you invite that person to be there in spirit with you, and you talk to them as if they were there, and you say everything that you would say if you're able to finish that conversation with them, not withholding any emotion, but letting it all flow freely. If you need to yell, if you need to scream, whatever you need to do to release that emotion and get it up and out of you. And so finishing that conversation, and then at the end of the conversation you ask them for forgiveness for holding on to that emotion and being stuck there. You ask forgiveness of your Father in heaven for not giving that to him sooner. And then of course the last part is to forgive yourself for holding on to that for so long. This is just a powerful release technique, another way that you can let go of emotion and be able to heal that relationship in some small way. Our spirits are a lot more willing and ready to let go of hard feelings and those types of things, so that's why it's more a spirit to spirit type of communication. So and then you just go through your list, and you'd be surprised how how you feel just so much lighter after you're willing to let that go. So that's the second release technique. The third one is called tapping, or EFT. This is a powerful way to help release things along the meridian lines. There's 8 main tapping places, and they're called acupoints. And so basically what you're doing is you're figuring out what the emotion is, what it is you're dealing with. And that's where this book really comes in handy. If it's a physical ailment, you can look up in the back. Let's say you're dealing with arthritis in your hands. Well, they have specific things that they believe that are the emotions attached to why you have that physical ailment. So you can look through there and say, oh yeah, that's exactly what it is I'm dealing with. So arthritis, for example, it says rigid, perfectionist, or controlling personality, severe self-criticism and criticism of others, or inflexible feelings repressed and mirrored in the hands. So, I mean, that's just an example. But then you can look up what the opposite of those emotions are, and that's where the tapping comes into play. So with tapping, first you want to say, okay, so the thing that I'm dealing with, so for example, we're doing anxiety on this one. So I'm dealing with feeling anxious when I go into crowds. Now, when you first are figuring out what it is that you want to tap about, you want to give it a level of emotion from 0 to 10. So let's say this is something you deal with that's super hard for you. So let's say the emotion level is a 10 for you. Or if it's not, you can put it somewhere else. So what you do is you first rate the emotion that you're dealing with, or the fear or the worry, whatever it is. You rate it 0 to 10. And then after you have figured that out, then you can kind of ask, then you start doing the tapping. So it's along 8 meridian acupoint lines. So the first one is the top of your head, right there where the crown chakra is, and you're just tapping lightly with your fingers. So the first is the top of your head, the second is your eyebrow right here on the inside, then the third one is the side of the eye, the fourth one is under the eye, the fifth one is under the nose, and then under the chin, or on just right here at the chin. Then the next one's your collarbone, that's the 7th one. And then the 8th one is actually under your arm, about 4 inches under your armpit, right at the bra line there. That's the 8th one. So basically when you're tapping, you're taking the emotion out of that heavy thing that you're dealing with. So if you're thinking about the anxiety of being in a room full of people, you just start tapping on that. So you could just say, I'm anxious when I'm in a room full of people. I'm anxious when I'm in a room full of people. I'm anxious when I'm in a room full of people. I'm anxious when I'm in a room full of people. And you can even say how you feel. I feel like I want to run and hide. I feel like I want to run and hide. I'm anxious when I'm in a room full of people. I'm anxious and I want to run and hide. Okay, so you would tap through that several times, and then you just check in and see where your intensity point goes. So basically you're telling your mind or your subconscious, okay, it's okay to feel these feelings, instead of suppressing them more, which makes you feel more anxious. So it's just allowing your body, okay, yes, it's okay that I feel that way. And you'll see that the intensity will gradually go down as you do the tapping rounds. So again, do those tapping rounds, check in on the intensity level. I would try and get it down below a 4, or 0 is the best. I would just keep going until you can get it down. Okay, so then after you are able to get that intensity level down, in EFT they have an affirmation that they use that I love. So you might want to write this down. It says, even though I, and then blank, so you could put in feel anxious in large crowds, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And so this is the next part of the tapping. So you would just go through those same points again. So even though I feel anxious in crowds, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Then go to the next point. Even though I feel anxious and want to run when I get into crowds. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And you just go through each of the points. So the side under the eye, under the nose, repeating that saying, under the chin, collarbone, and then under the arm. Okay? So again, that allows you to have that emotion, but you still love and accept yourself, even though you've done that. Okay, and then the next step after that would be to go to this book, and you would look up the negative emotion. You'd find the positive emotions that are opposite of that. And then you create affirmations, which we learned about in the last video. Create affirmations that are opposite of what it is that you've been dealing with, and tap those into the meridian lines, the acupoint lines. Okay, so for the example that we've just been using is, I feel anxious when I'm in a crowd full of people. You would change that to be a positive affirmation. So you can say, I go into crowds with, it's easy for me to go in crowds and to enjoy conversations and be myself, or whatever it is that you want. And again, tapping the 8 points and saying that statement. And this way you're going to look for your intensity to go from 0 to 10. You want this to go, you know, this is 0 to you at the beginning because it's not a statement that feels true to you at all. So you'll want to do several rounds of the tapping and see the intensity, and you want that to go up because that's a statement that you want to believe and have be a new neural pathway in your subconscious mind. So anyway, I hope you really enjoyed those 3 techniques. Again, there's the write and burn. There is the there's the write and burn, there's the tapping, and then there's the finishing the conversation. Sorry about that, I got them out of order there. But please try and pick one of those this week and work on it, and then next week maybe do another one, and a little at a time, and you'll just see some really great benefits in changing the way that you think as you release those old subconscious beliefs that no longer serve you. So I hope you have an amazing day. Thanks for tuning in.